Joel Harper and his group with Athena. Joel Harper and his group with Athena Studios. It's a gigantic facility. It's going to be fantastic for the film industry in Georgia, which I'm
Yeah, it should be right over there. So we're going to call this meeting to order, the Creative Arts and Entertainment Committee. Before we get started, we always start with we have a bill in front of this committee today, House Bill 549, and we have a walk-up song for Chairman Tyler Paul Smith. Hoping you might dance your way up here this morning, Richard. I would say that's almost timeless right there. That thing could very well be played today on the radio. All right, Representative or Chairman Smith, if you don't mind presenting your bill. We do have some folks who are signed up to speak on it as well, but I appreciate you bringing this measure.
Yes, sir. Of the committee, bring to you today House Bill 549, and this is entitled the Georgia Statewide Music Office Act. I want to thank first Mila, who is behind me to my right, your left, and thank you for all the good work that you've done for music in our state. Also thank you to Brian Hudson, who's a pretty doggone good musician himself. I am the least of all to bring this sort of bill to you. However, I do come from a family that have been very heavily involved in our music movement, although it may be in other states. My great-great-uncle, Harold Shedd, was a country music producer in Nashville for many decades, and so I come to a love of music quite naturally. But just to go through the bill with you real quick, this bill comes from a recommendation from the Joint House and Senate Music Heritage Study Committee, which was a bipartisan committee that met throughout the state this past fall. I was very fortunate to be a part of that. And this is really straightforward. It establishes a Georgia Music Office and a Music Commission that will work within economic development. Other states that currently have dedicated music offices are Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado. You'll notice that the Texas country movement in particular is really gaining steam currently. States that have music divisions within their economic departments, which are basically entertainment offices, are Louisiana, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Illinois, and California. And while Georgia currently has a film, music, and digital entertainment office, it primarily focuses on the film industry. The study committee found and recommended that a separate office focusing on Georgia music is essential to sustaining and growing the industry here. As we heard from Brendan Anthony with the Texas Music Office during the study committee, the dedicated music office has played an integral role in the Texas music ecosystem by connecting communities across the state and helping to recruit music businesses to the state. I personally believe that House Bill 549 will help the Georgia music industry grow and prosper and compete with music states like California, Texas, Tennessee, and New York by providing one central point of contact in our state for music. This office would focus on the statewide support, promotion, and cultivation of Georgia's growing music industry. The mission of the office will be to create opportunity and connect businesses to serve as a clearinghouse for Georgia music industry information. It'll also serve as a liaison between music businesses and government offices and agencies, publicizing significant developments within the music industry, and attract essential music industry to foster the economic development of music businesses and musicians in Georgia. The bill would also create the Georgia Music Advisory Council, an advisory council which would consist of 8 members and 1 chairperson appointed by the governor, whose mission shall include raising awareness of the rich and thriving music industry in Georgia. The Georgia Music Office would organize and champion the industry, promoting communication across sectors and implementing a greater statewide music strategy connecting all counties. The creation of this office, of course, will be subject to appropriations. And Mr. Chairman, that is the bill in essence. We have a very rich history of music here, a lot of scores and even songs themselves, and a lot of our cinema even. Those have been written by Georgia artists and performed by Georgia artists. So I think this is a move in the right direction for our state to make sure that we let folks like Texas and Nashville know that Georgia is a music hub to be reckoned with.
Fantastic presentation. I appreciate it, Counselor. Do we have any questions for the bill sponsor? If not, we do have some people signed up to speak, or a person to sign up and speak. Ms. Mala, if you'll head up to the computer.
Thank you, Chairman. Is it on?
I think you should be good to go.
Can you hear me? All right. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's a little early for our industry to be out here, so I'm taking the hit for everyone who was up late last night. Thank you, Chairman Carpenter, and thank you, Chairman Smith. And we really appreciate the committee members' understanding and openness to learning more about Georgia's music industry and the issues that we have here. I really want to also recognize and commend the Joint House and Senate Study Committee and the work they did over the fall to greater hear from our industry all around the state. I'm going to be really brief here because I know you guys have a busy day, but my name is Mala Sharma. I am president of Georgia Music Partners. I also, that is a volunteer position, but I also have my own music business consulting practice. Georgia Music Partners represents the 70,000 music industry professionals around the state, 9,613 music businesses. And we have an economic impact of roughly $5 billion to the state. To me, those numbers say why we need a statewide music office. No other state in this country has multiple cities with the music history that Georgia does. Tennessee's got Memphis and Nashville. Every other state's got one music city, possibly. We've got Augusta, we've got Macon, we've got Athens, and we've got Atlanta. But did you know Alpharetta, Georgia is farm team for where gospel and Christian artists get started, and they are going to Nashville to record. We want to stop all of that. We want to bring opportunities to each and every county across the state, and to that I'll yield for any questions.
Do we have any questions for the Ms. Mala? I don't think so. Thank you. Great
Thank you.
presentation. I will say, just from the study committee, it was quite, we talk all the time about metro issues and rural issues across the state, and it became apparent to me that music doesn't care, right? Music doesn't care if it's Valdosta. Music doesn't care if it's Albany. Music doesn't care if it's Athens or Atlanta. So I think that piece has always been intriguing to me as we talk about spreading economic development across the state of Georgia. This is music to me is an easy pull. We have a request, number 12.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Tyler. I think, Mr. Chair, that any person that comes to present a bill to this committee either has to do it in a very creative and expressive way. Like, he should have been dancing this morning. That's just my opinion. Somebody that... But Tyler, thank you. I think this is a great bill. I think it's time. My only question is, where is this actually going to be housed? What part? Is there an office? Where would the office be located?
You're good. It would actually be under the Department of Economic Development.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And thank you. And I will say this, I'm Baptist, so I'm not supposed to dance. Otherwise, I would have gladly. So.
Did you not see Dirty Dancing?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Baptist Dance in Heaven, too.
Yep. It was a great one.
All right. Any more questions for the bill? If not, we're in a posture of a motion. Chair, number 22.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to pass.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. All right. You move the rules. If you'll get the form, I'll fill it out for you on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you very much. All right, now we've got a great presentation. I knew we'd have just a little bit of time because I felt the quality of that bill was going to slide pretty quick through committee. We have a presentation by Athena Studios down in Athens. They put together a video about what they're doing, and I thought it was important for not only this committee to see, but also the world to see through the online version that will be live for all Georgia citizens to see the economic impact of this business. Bear with me.
Harbor and his group with Athena Studios. It's a gigantic facility. It's going to be fantastic for the film industry in Georgia, which I'm not sure if everybody realizes just how big the film industry is to our state.
The infrastructure that's being built in the state of Georgia around film is astronomical. Anywhere we go in the world now, we can tout that we're #1 in the world in film. Without tax credit, none of this exists, and then overnight it'll be gone.
We're a little bit further out, so we're expanding that footprint and really making it something that's going statewide, not just centered around Atlanta. This has been a great employer for over 200 Georgians over the last 14 months. So we're proud of that. We're proud of being able to put this project together and have it ready for the industry as they need more space in Georgia.
Athena is a game changer. It's something that's going to really create jobs for those folks don't have to go out of town. Those folks that graduate college and high school and even go to the film academy, they can stay at home. The jobs it's going to bring there is something you can't put a dollar on. It's a game changer for the city, and it's going to put them on the map.
Economic development, the growth that will continue to happen as a result of Athena Studios. It's amazing what they've built in Athens. I do think it's a blueprint for especially places outside of Metro Atlanta to bring this industry to communities like Athens. It's an exciting opportunity for our community, and certainly I believe it's something that can be replicated in other parts of the state.
What we don't talk about is real estate development like Athena Studios. That's not counted in the impact. We don't talk about families that move here permanently from other states to raise their kids, and they buy real estate, they put their kids in school. There's a huge economic impact here in Georgia. We've carved out a niche as the new place to film and do business in the country. We've got the best tax incentive in the country, and as long as we maintain it, the industry will continue to come, and you'll see developments like Athena Studios start to happen outside of Metro Atlanta and make it more of a statewide industry, and that's what our goal is.
Thank you very much. Graham, I'm not sure who's speaking this morning, but if you want to slide up, that'd be great.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joel Harbor, CEO of Athena Studios. I want to thank Chairman Carpenter and the committee for letting us show the video you just watched and letting me talk to you guys for a few minutes this morning. I think we're at a crucial juncture in this investment that we've made. This is a long-term investment in the film industry in the state. It's provided a lot of benefit. I'm a lifelong Georgian and native Athenian. It means a lot to me to be able to bring a project like this back to my hometown and my home state and do something that I feel like is vital for the longevity of this industry, which is promote growth outside of Metro Atlanta. That's what we're doing at Athena. We're the first purpose-built soundstage complex outside of Metro Atlanta. So we feel like we're doing our part in some heavy lifting to try and kickstart this process that I feel like is on the verge of happening. As I mentioned in the video, we've got a great tax incentive here in the state of Georgia. We're winning the national championship in the film industry right now, just like the Georgia Bulldogs, Go Dogs, are winning on the football field. There's some talk about making some changes. To me, that's kind of like firing Kirby Smart after you win a national championship. Probably not a good idea. And the industry is looking at us right now as well as other states. There's other states that they see how successful we are. They're jealous and they're coming for us. Oklahoma just passed a new incentive. This is a very competitive industry. We've had a great incentive, and due to that, projects like mine have come online and investing billions of dollars of infrastructure into the state that's not going to pick up and move ever. So, you know, these are long-term investments in the state. It's also bringing a lot of jobs and these ancillary businesses until you kind of, I know Chairman Carpenter has been on a few tours and seen some of this in person. You just can't imagine the number of small businesses that benefit from this industry. I can tell you 30 stories about a guy a few years ago that had a truck and a can of paint and a brush, and now he's got a multi-million-dollar painting business, and all he does is paint sets for the film industry. These are Georgians like myself who were born and raised here and now have a great livelihood that's derived from this industry. So, you know, my message to you today is, you know, if you're doing something well, lean into it. Don't pull back. I think it's a very competitive time right now with all of the, you know, macroeconomic factors that are going on. Content creation is trimming back. You know, just as you see Disney laying off employees, and you know, there's a lot going on right now. So if we hold steady, we stand to reap a huge reward over the next 2 years. There's billions of dollars of projects, creative projects. I'm talking to the heads of these studios right now that are circling and looking at Georgia as, do we want to put a $500 million feature here? Do we want to, you know, make more investment here? And they're watching what everyone's doing. If we can hold steady, we'll reap that benefit. There's people that are out to kind of take the prize, but there's also, you know, the UK, again, we're competing on a global level. They're looking at changing their incentive. If they do that, a lot of that business is going to come straight here. There's already Universal and other big studios that are moving business from New York, bringing it here. So, you know, my message is we've made an investment. The smart thing to do is to continue to foster that. I know there's probably some ways that we could make it better for the state and for the industry, but I believe that takes a little bit of time and effort to kind of dig into what we really need to do. And I would caution against kind of haphazard, caps and things like that aren't well thought out, that can have a huge negative impact. And once they go away, it's hard to get them back. It's hard to turn them back around. So we're winning now. We've got the national championship. Let's be proud of that, and let's lean in as a state. And then what you'll see is more developments like Athena Studios that will go outside of the zone of Metro Atlanta. And as I mentioned, starting out, I feel like that's a big component of what needs to happen next here in the state. And I'm a supporter of finding out, you know, let's not look at cutting an incentive. Let's look at adding to it if you go outside of Metro Atlanta, and let's promote this more statewide. And then I feel like as more of the state sees the benefit, they'll realize that this is a huge game changer for our economy, and there's really no way to measure all the benefits that we get. You know, you can use metrics, you can look at different things, but you know, as a real estate developer, I get nothing from this incentive. We got nothing from Athens Clarke County. We don't get any incentive. The incentive creates a playground in our state for these industries to come here, and then we provide the sandbox. You know, so we have an indirect benefit. We do not have a direct benefit. So, you know, you look at Assembly in Doraville, Trilith down in Fayetteville. You know, these are billions of dollars of infrastructure that's being planted in the ground here in the state of Georgia. It's not going anywhere. I think the best thing that we can do is support it and foster the investment that we've already made.
Thank you very much. We have a couple of questions. Number 24.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm from New Orleans. I've been in Atlanta for 28 years, but I was born and raised in New Orleans. My parents are still there, and I know exactly what can happen when you put caps on these tax credits, because it went from, they're uptown. So as you can imagine, lots of things were filmed in their neighborhood and on their street, and they were working with the real estate scouts to get their house in films, all kinds of things. Overnight, just evaporated. It went away. I actually sent the chairman about a week ago. There was an article in the New Orleans paper about Deep South Studios, which they started doing their 20, 30 acre assembly early parts of the 2000s, and now it's just gone. It's dormant. They're trying to raise $100 million to try to finish off this half-built studio complex. I'm not particularly optimistic for them in the climate in that state right now, but that's the reality, is that without these incentives, the way we've been able to support them right now as a General Assembly, I think it's easy to take for granted if you don't really dig deep into what the impact of these is. But at the end of the day, these are just big buildings, and North Carolina found this out, Louisiana found this out. If you start messing with that, the industry will go to where it is a more attractive climate. And you're right, there are a lot of states that are gunning for us. And I think I appreciate you bringing this to our attention and emphasizing the point about what's happening beyond Metro Atlanta. And I very much appreciate, that we have this committee and we're able to have these thoughtful conversations, because, the numbers are real. They're big numbers, but the impact is just tremendous. And the halo effect of the impact of the film industry goes way beyond what anybody has in any economic report. So thank you for sharing what you're doing in Athens.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a St. Mary's baby myself, of course, know Athens very well and spent 5 football seasons there. Where is the Athena Studios located? I was just curious in Athens.
Conveniently on Athena Drive. It's north of town, near Athens Tech.
Okay.
If you go out that way.
No, exactly. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here. I think when we first introduced the tax credits, and I wasn't here at the time, but one of the best arguments for it was this idea that this is an industry that can grow incredibly well outside of Metro Atlanta, and now you get to be our guinea pig for can we actually do that. You referenced sort of the need for infrastructure beyond the sound stages. You've got to have hospitality and catering. You've got to have a workforce beyond production workforce, painters, carpenters, et cetera. And you need medical facilities. What are the gaps that you're encountering in Athens? Where can we be doing better supporting an ecosystem that makes it easier to do a production outside Metro Atlanta?
Sure, that's a good question. Really, just so everyone knows, if a production films outside of Metro Atlanta, there's 2 hubs. There's one big hub in the state, Metro Atlanta, and then there's a mini hub in Savannah. Okay, if they get more than 30 miles outside from those capitals, they have increased cost. Okay, so one of the things we're dealing with in our conversations is that increased cost. So to your question and to my earlier point, I feel that it's necessary and vital for the long-term growth of this program to incentivize productions to go into some of these rural and outside of metro areas. And if you provide an incentive, they'll do it the same way they've come here. So I think, challenges are not, it's really a cost issue more than anything else. We have labor force. We have facilities. We have all those things. We have a great place for them to come. We have to kind of, mitigate those additional costs. And so that's why I'm a proponent of, let's not be reductive. Let's not try and add by subtracting. Let's add by adding and create something on top. This is very common in the industry. If you look at New Mexico, if you look at Toronto, if you look at New York's a good example. This exists. This uplift to go outside of the zone exists, and I feel like if we can incorporate that here, more cities around the state will see benefit. And there will be more momentum and support for this as a long-term program. And we're sitting here right now. We've driven the ball to the 1-yard line, and we're going to win the game. I don't think it makes sense to kneel. It makes sense to keep going and lean into what we're doing. We stand to reap some huge rewards over the next couple of years if we can stay steady and then do some proactive things like this to help grow the industry in the state.
I got a quick question on that radius, because I've really been trying to wrap my head around that piece, because I talked to somebody from one of the unions yesterday, and he acted like the whole state of Georgia was the radius. So could you explain that piece, and is there a possibility that we require the whole state of Georgia to be that radius, legislatively? Because I think it's in the unions and the workers of Georgia's best interest that the industry thrives across the whole state. So what are some things we could possibly do, and who do we need to talk to on that piece?
Sure. Those zones are in their contracts with the studios, and so that's how they're defined. Currently, I'm not sure about Savannah's because that's a different IATSE crew base down there that comes out of South Carolina, actually. But in Atlanta, it's basically 30 miles from the Capitol. So anything outside of that, the productions stand to have to pay more for labor, and then also travel costs. A lot of the industry is based here, so if we have catering or other aspects that are servicing Athena, they have to go there. So a lot of it's based out of Atlanta, so it makes extra costs for them. Now, to the point, you might have talked to Mike Akins. Is that who you're talking to? Yeah, you have, in Georgia, it's kind of will make your eyes glaze over when you start getting into all this. There's a bunch of circles, and it depends on where they set their production office. Some of it's based off of the Capitol. So there's a lot of different factors, but you have in Georgia a local hire and a nearby hire. There's no distant hire, but the cost difference between local and nearby can be significant. So, the easy way to do it is if we get into, trying to talk to them about these circles and move them, it's going to be hard to do. The best thing to do is say, hey, if you're outside the Atlanta zone, there's an additional uplift, and they'll figure it out from there. They'll have some additional costs that'll offset it, and hopefully it's in addition to that. When all the numbers shake out, they've covered their additional costs, and they've got a little added benefit for going outside of the zone. And again, that's how they do it in some other markets.
Chairman. So in 2019, I had the fortune of going to Belgrade to film a movie, and I wanted it shot here in Georgia, but there just wasn't the resources and studio space left. While I was over there in Belgrade, I visited Budapest and UK and a couple of other studios around Europe, and they're all gunning for Atlanta. I don't think they realized I was from Atlanta, because they kept talking about Atlanta and how they want to grab some of the business that is overflowing in Atlanta at that point. Are you guys looking at those cities and what those cities are doing to compete? Because like LA, a lot of their studios are outdated, right? And so the ones who are building studios now, you're hopefully modern, state-of-the-art, competitive globally. Are you looking at cities like Budapest and Belgrade?
We kind of monitor what's going on. I feel like what we've built in Athena, I know there's, we can take the Pepsi challenge with anything in the world as far as the actual infrastructure that we put in the ground. We look at them, but we can't control what they do. They can come up. I think Australia's 60% or something. So we can't compete with some of these countries that are doing what they're doing. The best thing for us to do is to keep what we have and keep it strong, and we'll keep that business. And if we don't, it will go to these other areas. There's no doubt about it. But I think that's something that kind of some of the rank and file folks around the Capitol just don't understand. I mean, if you're number top 3 in the world in anything, in any industry, especially ones that brings this much economic benefit to our state, I would think you'd be proud of that, and you'd want to kind of lean into it versus shying away. So that's my take on just kind of the international climate of competition.
Well, I think that concludes everything. I really appreciate your presentation and what you're doing to grow film outside of the metro area, and I look forward to continuing this conversation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, guys, we're going to adjourn so we can get to the rest of our lovely day. God bless you today, folks.